So we've tested one of the narrowest touring boards in the market. Now it's time to move on to the wider touring boards. And this time we're going to be looking at the Starboard Touring 12.6 by 31 in a Pine Tex construction. Starboard are a brand that need little introduction, definitely one of the world's top leading SUP manufacturers to date. This board specifications is 12.6 long, 31 inches wide, 7.9 inches thick, 284 litres in volume, and this in the Pine Tex retails at £1,699. And the weight of the board is 14.9 kilograms. So it's obviously designed for touring, but as well as that, it gives you as much speed, stability and comfort on those long journeys as possible. So the construction of this touring board, it's an EPS foam core. Starboard have put in their bio-resin technology to finish off the board with glass layers, and then down the rails there is a carbon Integra rail band going either side of the board to reduce the dings and the scratches that can occur on the board from paddling and maybe hitting them on the rocks. And then on the top of the board, obviously giving it its Pine Tex name, it has an Australian veneer of pine right over the whole of the board. Moving on to the SUP board impressions, straight away we notice how much this board has got. In fact, maybe we should be talking about what this board hasn't got, because it has everything. Multiple tie down points, nice big eyelets at the front there, nice big eyelets at the back. What we mean by big eyelets is actually you can get big heavy duty bungees, ropes in there, no piddly little ones like you do find on other brands which do work, but they're definitely, over time, they can get annoying if you really are using this board for touring. We're talking about using this for touring now. It's got multiple FCS mounts at the mid section there, one at the nose, it's got one at the back. It also comes with a star mount attachment which you can also screw into the FCS mount at the front there, or anywhere to be honest. Has another like a leashing point there just at the front which you could obviously tie down some of your navigation stuff or compasses and stuff like that. The top of the board with the pine veneer looks fantastic, and it's really well finished, let's just say that. So the board comes down, you have a nice chunky EVA crocodile deck pad. What I said in the first look video as well is where they've actually recessed the deck pad at the back here, the actual pine veneer goes down into the EVA deck pad, an incredibly well finished part of the board, and it looks really good. Probably more to do with the aesthetics to be honest than the practicality, that bit, but it just looks like you are getting a good quality product when you look at this area, definitely. Moving back, the hollowed out deck carries on here throughout to the tail of the board. Then you've got more bungee tie down points. About 6 inches in front of the fin, you've got the course adjustment insert, which is basically a hole right through the bottom of the board, which is where you can fix another fin to help you to align yourself on those sort of longer paddles where you've got the wind coming from cross shore, cross side of you, so maybe you don't want to be paddling on the opposite side all of the time. You can get a course corrector fin at the back there, and then you can paddle on both sides equally so your body isn't loaded up over those long periods of paddling. You've got the normal stuff you get on all the starboards. You've got the super deep carry handle, which is great and comfortable in carrying the board. So let's talk a bit about the performance and the board shape at the same time. Before we turn the board over and look at the board shape underneath, let's look at the top of the board, and specifically back here where the tie down points are at the back. Because there's a large dip concave area here where it's recessed in the board, it's really comfortable at putting equipment, whether it's dry bags, waterproof barrels, any other sort of dry things you want to keep there really secure on the board. They sit really well under the bungees, and they sit very well in the back mid section of the board, exactly where you want them. They don't move at all if you have any side chop or paddling into wind, and they stay there. That is a really good move. I don't know if Starboard have designed it around that, but when you're paddling it with kit, whether it's long distance or you're going fishing equipment or anything, it really fits in there really well. The front one, it has got to have a curve up at the nose there, because it has to shred the water off, and it does shred the water off, but it's better for the slightly smaller loads, not putting so much weight on the front. The back one is really good at loading up and keeping everything nice and secure. So let's have a look at this bottom shape then. Starting up at the nose, you've got your classic displacement nose that you find on other starboards. Water comes off the nose really well. You want to have the nose sort of just about in the water, and then if you get any big chop, it comes over the front and disperses off the sides really well. Where the magic happens really on this board for the nose is the underneath. They have lowered the nose section, so if the nose is upside down now, it's actually coming upwards. It's very faint. It's really hard to see how much there is because of the paint job on here. They've actually brought the water line of the paint job up, so it actually makes you think that it's more than it is, but they have lowered it into the water so the nose stays in the water and gives you a really stable feel when you're paddling in upwind, downwind conditions especially. The front of the board is slightly rounded off, obviously not to catch. You've got nice beveled rails here, so the water can shrug off if you're trying to sort of track left or right, especially in those downwind, upwind situations. Then about sort of 3 feet back, you have a flat section here, and the rails again start to bevel off. And then straight away 2 feet from that, you've got a large concave which starts to form between where the rails bevel off at the side. So now the water's traveling down, it's being trapped in this large concave, and that's where it's starting to give you stability and make the board feel really stable underfoot in those choppy conditions. Again, a bit further back, it's even slightly deeper. In fact, I get all my fingers underneath there, so it must be like a centimetre deep. And you've got another slight dip here, even a slight concave, and another chine which is coming off the side here. Very similar to their All-Star range and their Sprint range. They've got those bottom shapes, really good at that stability, giving you that extra stable feel. As we move it back again, similar sort of characteristics. The concave gets squashed, obviously because the tail's coming in, but it's all there designed right to the tail to hold the water in the centre of the board, make it really fast, really stable and effortless to paddle. Then moving back to the fin, it comes with a nice bio-resin Dolphin 22 starboard fin and a honeycomb finish in the green construction. Really nice looking fin, don't need to change it, plug and play, away you go. Really suits those long distance paddles obviously, and also those downwind surfing and stuff like that. Talk about downwind surfing, we did paddle this board upwind, we had downwind sessions, we paddled it in choppy, we took it fishing, we took it light cruising. We didn't do any overnight expeditions on it, but obviously we can see how that would work quite easily. The board, it paddles incredibly well upwind and downwind in lots of different conditions, and it pretty much is in fact it is the most stable touring board that we have paddled without a doubt. Being 31 wide offers you a huge amount of stability. Even if you put a large amount of weight, you could probably put another 100 kilos on top of this board and you'd still be quite comfortable paddling it. Coupled as well also with the carbon Innegra rails down the side, make the board so hard wearing, so you really haven't got to worry about the board and actually when you're getting in and out of the water and paddle knocks and rocks and stuff, because when you're touring you really are trying to get from A to B with a little amount of effort as possible, and you're not really thinking about your board all of the time. So it is a very easy board to paddle in lots of conditions, and it is really going to take you on those mini adventures or those bigger adventures, to be honest. The touring is really set up straight away, right out the box, ready to go touring. Negatives and downsides to the Starboard Touring. Okay, well this board comes in 3 constructions. It comes in the Starlight, the Starshot and the Pine Tex. All really good price point, different constructions for different uses, but I would love to see this one or one other one in a lighter weight construction. 14.9 kilograms, it isn't extremely heavy, but if you are touring and you're trying to portage and you've got to walk somewhere and you've got heavy equipment as well, something around the little, probably more like 13 kilograms would be an absolute blinder of a board. It's very hard to produce this, I do understand. It has got a lot in this board, and all of the strength you add on the board, the carbon and Innegra rails, the pine, it does add weight, makes the board stronger, but then makes the board heavier. So that, to me, I'd love to just see it. If Starboard could get this board down around the sort of early 14s, late 13s, that will be an absolute cracker of a board. So value for money, £1,699. It's a bit of money, but it's definitely not too much money. You get a hell of a lot with this board. In fact, you get everything with this board. Some touring boards we've tested doesn't come with the bungees, doesn't come with the tie down, doesn't come with the star mounts, all that sort of stuff. You have to add on, you have to buy it in. This comes completely ready to go, and that's really nice. And in the Pine Tex, it does look absolutely stunning. So the overall SUPboarder verdict for the Starboard Touring 12.6 by 31. This is a very, very good touring board for a bigger person or somebody who wants to put an extremely large amount of weight on the board but still wants stability, speed and enough glide. A little bit heavy maybe just in board weight, but to be honest, if you do paddle it, when you're paddling long distances, board weight isn't such an issue. That's more about portaging and moving the board around. It's going to be 4 stars from us, a very good looking, well made product from Starboard. I hope that board review is interesting and informative, guys. Remember, if you want to find out more about this board and what boards we compare it to in the market, check out SUPboarder Pro. Otherwise, we'll see you on SUPboarder Mag or on YouTube.